What if the very thing you try so hard to hide is actually the source of your greatest strength? What if the parts of yourself you keep buried, the cracks in your story, the failures that still echo in your memory, the scars no one sees, the moments you wish had never happened, were never signs of weakness to begin with? What if they were proof of transformation? Because the world teaches perfection. Be flawless. Be polished. Be smooth. Be untouched. Be admired. Be impressive enough that no one can question your worth. It teaches you to erase every flaw, to cover every wound, to pretend the struggle never happened. It tells you that value belongs to what appears complete. But wisdom teaches something far more dangerous. It teaches that what has been broken and rebuilt with intention can become more valuable than what was never damaged at all. That strength is not always born in comfort, but in pressure. That beauty is not always found in symmetry, but in survival. That character is not formed by avoiding pain, but by what you become after enduring it. Some things look perfect because they have never been tested. Other things carry marks because they faced impact and remain standing. And those marks tell a story perfection never can. Because perfection often hides fragility, but repaired brokenness can reveal resilience. The person who has never failed may appear confident, but the person who has failed, adapted, healed, and continued forward carries a deeper kind of power. A power built from experience. A power built from perspective. A power built from knowing what it means to lose pieces of yourself and still rebuild. This is the forgotten power of imperfection. The truth that your cracks may hold more value than your surface. That your pain may have carved depth where comfort never could. That your setbacks may have forced growth success would have delayed. And hidden inside an ancient philosophy, buried beneath centuries of quiet wisdom, is the reason your damage may not be the end of your story, but the very thing that makes it unforgettable. There is a Japanese art called Kintsugi. When pottery breaks, it is not discarded as useless. It is not treated as something ruined beyond repair. It is not hidden away in shame. It is carefully restored, using gold. The fractures are not concealed. They are traced. The cracks are not covered. They are illuminated. The damage is not denied. It becomes part of the design itself. What once looked broken returns with new meaning. What was shattered comes back carrying a story. And often, the repaired piece becomes more striking than it was before it ever broke. Think about how different that is from modern life. Today, people hide scars. They filter flaws. They rehearse confidence. They pretend certainty. They perform perfection for an audience that is doing the same thing. Everyone wants to appear whole. Few know how to become whole. So people polish the outside, while neglecting what is collapsing underneath. They build identities around appearance, approval, image, status, control. But beneath the surface, many are fragile, because anything built only to look perfect usually lacks the strength to survive pressure. Anything valued only for smoothness panics when life introduces cracks. Anything dependent on appearances shatters when reality finally touches it. And reality always touches it. Failure comes. Loss comes. Rejection comes. Embarrassment comes. Change comes. Time comes. No surface remains untouched forever. Kintsugi teaches the opposite. It teaches that breakage does not erase value. It reveals where strength must be rebuilt. It teaches that damage is not always destruction. Sometimes it is instruction. Sometimes it exposes weakness you could not see before. Sometimes it forces reconstruction on a stronger foundation. Repair creates deeper value. Because what has been restored with intention contains wisdom untouched things do not have. It carries resilience. It carries perspective. It carries evidence of survival. And once you truly understand this, you stop fearing imperfection. You stop wasting energy hiding every crack. You stop believing mistakes reduce your worth. You stop seeing pain only as punishment. You begin using imperfection, using failure as refinement, using scars as memory, using setbacks as structure, using loss as clarity, using every fracture life gave you to become something stronger, rarer, and more real than perfection ever was. Chapter 1. Perfection creates fear. Most people chase perfection for one reason. Fear. Not excellence. Not mastery. Not true growth. Fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of rejection. Fear of being exposed as less than they want others to believe. Fear of making mistakes in public. Fear of looking inexperienced. fear of failing where others can see it. So they hesitate. They delay action. They postpone the first step. They tell themselves they are preparing, when often they are hiding. They wait until they're ready. Wait until they know enough. Wait until conditions are ideal. Wait until the timing feels perfect. Wait until confidence appears like magic. Wait until uncertainty disappears. Wait until there is no chance of embarrassment. And while they wait, life moves. Doors open and close. Opportunities pass to those willing to act imperfectly. Time disappears quietly. Energy fades. Momentum dies before it is born. Potential decays in silence. Dreams become ideas. Ideas become regrets. And regrets become stories people tell themselves about what they could have done. Perfection sounds noble. It sounds disciplined. It sounds intelligent. It sounds responsible. But often, it is hesitation wearing expensive clothes. It is procrastination with better branding. It is fear disguised as high standards. Because many people do not want perfection. They want protection. Protection from criticism. Protection from discomfort. Protection from the vulnerability of trying before they feel ready. But nothing grows inside protection forever. The need to be flawless can become a prison. A beautiful prison. A respectable prison. A prison built from endless planning. Constant tweaking. Overthinking. Comparing. Waiting. Because if you must be perfect to begin, you may never begin at all. If every first attempt must look like mastery, you will avoid every challenge that could transform you. If mistakes feel unacceptable, progress becomes impossible. Imperfection frees movement. It gives permission to start before certainty, to learn before confidence, to build before approval. It allows messy starts, awkward attempts, visible growth, clumsy first drafts, unpolished beginnings, slow progress that eventually becomes undeniable. Because every expert once looked foolish. Every master once struggled. Every strong person once moved badly. And movement beats perfection every time. A flawed step forward beats a perfect plan untouched. An embarrassing beginning beats endless hesitation. Action creates clarity. Motion creates confidence. Repetition creates skill. Perfection creates delay. So the real question is not whether you can do it perfectly. It is whether you are brave enough to begin imperfectly. Chapter 2. Scars create depth. There is something powerful about people who have suffered consciously. Not people who were merely hurt. Not people who were consumed by pain and never examined it. Not people who made suffering their identity. But people who faced it, stood inside it, allowed it to teach them, and returned stronger. People who were broken open by life, yet chose to rebuild with awareness. People who did not waste pain. They carry a different presence. They speak differently. There is weight in their words, calm in their tone, precision in what they choose not to say. They don't need to prove much. They are less interested in performing strength, because they had to develop the real thing. They don't panic easily, because once you've survived storms, small weather stops impressing you. They don't worship comfort, because comfort no longer feels like the highest goal. They know comfort can sedate growth. They know ease can weaken discipline. They know peace is valuable, but dependence on ease is dangerous. Why? Because reality educated them. Life became their teacher, and reality teaches lessons no classroom can fully provide. Failure taught humility. It stripped arrogance. It exposed blind spots. It reminded them effort does not guarantee outcome. Loss taught gratitude. It revealed the value of what was once ignored. It taught that presence is temporary. It made ordinary moments sacred. Rejection taught independence. It forced them to stop outsourcing worth. It made them stronger without applause. It taught them that being denied is not the same as being diminished. Loneliness taught self-reliance. It introduced them to their own mind. It taught them how to stand without constant validation. It made solitude less frightening. Disappointment taught discernment. It sharpened judgment. It exposed illusions. It taught them who to trust, what to expect, and what to release. These lessons cannot be downloaded. They cannot be borrowed from quotes. They cannot be installed through motivation. They cannot be understood from a distance. They must be lived, paid for an experience, earned through discomfort, absorbed through reflection. Many people look polished but shallow. Smooth words, curated images, confident surfaces, little substance underneath. Others carry invisible cracks and possess uncommon depth. They understand pain without dramatizing it. They recognize struggle in others. They value truth over appearance. They know what matters. Because life removed what didn't. Choose depth. Choose substance over display. Choose wisdom over image. Choose scars that taught something over surfaces that learn nothing. Because image fades. Approval shifts. Beauty changes. Trends disappear. But depth remains. It guides decisions. It steadies you in chaos. It attracts what is real. It lasts longer than image. Chapter 3. Your weakness can become your weapon. The trait you hate most about yourself may contain hidden power. The part of you you've judged, criticized, tried to suppress, or wished away may not be useless at all. It may simply be undeveloped strength. Because many traits become dangerous only when unmanaged, and powerful when refined. Sensitivity can become emotional intelligence. The ability to feel deeply can become the ability to understand deeply. You notice tone. You read energy. You sense what others ignore. What once felt like vulnerability can become rare perception. Overthinking can become strategy. When disciplined, left unchecked, it creates anxiety. But directed properly, it becomes foresight, pattern recognition, risk awareness, planning, the ability to see second-order consequences before others react too late. Past insecurity can become empathy. Those who know what it feels like to doubt themselves often learn how to treat others with care. They recognize hidden pain. They understand silence. They know what encouragement can do. A painful background can become hunger. Struggle often creates drive comfort never had to develop. Those who lacked opportunities sometimes learn to value them more. Those who suffered limits often become relentless when doors finally open. Being underestimated can become leverage. When no one expects much from you, you move unnoticed. You build quietly. You improve without attention. You surprise people before they realize you were serious. The world often overlooks what it cannot measure. Use that. Your flaw is often raw energy without direction, untamed intensity, unshaped potential, power in an inconvenient form. But most people reject it before refining it. They label themselves too early. They mistake a rough beginning for a final identity. They experience pain and call themselves broken. They experience delay and call themselves finished. They experience weakness and call themselves worthless. So they say, I'm too broken. I'm too late. I'm too flawed. I'm too damaged. But the truth is harsher and more liberating. You may simply be unfinished, not ruined, not cursed, not disqualified, unfinished, still in process, still unshaped in areas that matter, still carrying material life expects you to forge. And unfinished things can be transformed. Iron becomes steel through pressure. Stone becomes sculpture through carving. Skill becomes mastery through repetition. Character becomes strength through trial. The same can happen to you. What embarrasses you today may become the edge that defines you tomorrow. What feels like weakness now may become precision once trained. What once caused pain may become the source of your purpose. So do not ask only, what is wrong with me? Ask a better question. What could this become if I learned to use it? Chapter 4. Power comes from repair, not avoidance. Anyone can look strong when life is easy. Anyone can appear confident when nothing is being challenged. Anyone can seem disciplined when conditions are favorable. Anyone can smile when the path is smooth. Ease often creates the illusion of strength. Because when there is no resistance, there is nothing revealing who you really are. True strength appears after impact. After life interrupts your plans. After reality ignores your preferences. After something valuable breaks. After the version of yourself you trusted no longer works. Strength is not measured before the hit. It is measured by what remains after it. After betrayal. When trust is wounded. When someone you believed in becomes the source of pain. When innocence is replaced by clarity. After failure. When effort did not produce the reward you expected. When pride is humbled. When excuses become useless. After humiliation. When your image cracks in front of others. When ego is stripped publicly. When you must continue without the protection of appearance. After collapse. When systems fail. When momentum dies. When identity shakes. When everything familiar feels unstable. After being forced to rebuild when no one applauds. No audience. No recognition. No dramatic soundtrack. No visible reward. Just quiet effort. Daily discipline. Unseen repair. The kind of work many people avoid because no one celebrates it. That process changes a person. You become less naive. You stop assuming good intentions everywhere. You understand consequences. You see patterns sooner. You become less dependent, less reliant on validation, less reliant on rescue, less reliant on comfort to function. You become less fragile. Small inconveniences stop controlling your mood. Minor criticism stops shaking your identity. Temporary setbacks stop feeling like endings. You stop asking life to be fair, because life never signed that agreement. You stop negotiating with reality. You stop wasting strength wishing the past were different. You start asking yourself to be stronger, to be wiser, to be steadier, to be more disciplined than the pressure around you. This is where power is forged, not in comfort. Comfort can soothe you, but it rarely builds you. Not in applause. Praise can encourage you, but it cannot replace character. Not in smooth seasons. Easy times may refresh you, but they do not always reveal you. But in repair, in choosing to rebuild after damage, in learning after mistakes, in healing without becoming bitter, in adapting without losing yourself, in standing again after collapse. The person who has rebuilt themselves 3 times often stands stronger than the person who was never tested once. Because the untested may look solid until the first storm arrives. But the rebuilt person knows something deeper. They know they can lose pieces and still recover. They know they can be shaken and still stand. They know pain can visit without becoming permanent. That knowledge creates a quiet power no appearance can imitate. Chapter 5. How to practice Kintsugi in real life. Wisdom means little if it stays theoretical. Understanding pain is not enough. Admiring resilience is not enough. Seeing the truth is only the beginning. The real question is this: how do you practice Kintsugi in real life? How do you turn cracks into strength, damage into design, pain into power? It begins with action. First, stop hiding every flaw. Not every scar needs explanation. Not every wound requires an audience. Not every detail of your past must be shared. But stop living as if imperfections disqualify you. Stop assuming you must appear flawless to be respected. Stop believing mistakes erased your value. Stop apologizing for the parts of life that shaped you. Some people spend years managing appearances, editing themselves, shrinking themselves, pretending to be untouched. And in doing so, they abandon what is real. You do not need to showcase every scar, but you must stop treating them as shame. Second, use failure as data. Failure becomes destructive when interpreted emotionally. It becomes useful when examined honestly. Do not turn mistakes into identity. A failed attempt does not mean you are a failure. A setback does not mean you are finished. A rejection does not define your worth. Turn mistakes into instruction. Ask, what went wrong? What did I ignore? What pattern keeps repeating? What skill is missing? What must change now? Winners often feel disappointment, but they study it. That is the difference. Third, speak honestly about growth. People trust authenticity more than performance. Most can sense when someone is pretending. They can feel rehearsed confidence, manufactured perfection, empty image. But honesty creates connection. When you speak from real lessons, real struggle, real progress, people listen differently. You do not need to dramatize pain. You do not need to overshare wounds. Simply be truthful about what growth required. Truth carries weight that performance never can. Fourth, build where you once broke. This is where transformation becomes visible. If rejection hurt you, develop confidence. Build worth from within instead of waiting for approval. If chaos hurt you, create discipline. Build routines that restore order. If loss hurt you, cultivate gratitude. Learn to value what remains. If betrayal hurt you, build discernment. If fear hurt you, build courage through action. If weakness hurt you, build strength through repetition. Turn damage into architecture. Let the place that once collapsed become the place built strongest. Fifth, respect your story. Everything you survived carries material for wisdom. Even the chapters you would never choose. Even the seasons you wish never happened. Even the mistakes that humbled you. They contain lessons, perspective, strength, clarity, compassion, boundaries, depth. Use it. Do not waste suffering by learning nothing from it. Do not erase chapters that built your character. Do not envy untouched people who have never been tested. Respect the road that formed you. Because your story is not only evidence of pain, it is evidence of endurance. And when used correctly, everything that once tried to break you can become part of what makes you powerful. Chapter 6. Why imperfect people win long term. Perfect people often depend on appearances. Their strength is usually external. built on perception, maintained by control, protected by image. As long as nothing disrupts the surface, everything seems stable. But stability built on appearance is fragile, because it depends on conditions staying favorable. It depends on approval not fading. It depends on pressure never increasing beyond what can be managed. It depends on life cooperating with the image. Imperfect people who evolve depend on substance. Not how things look, but how things hold up when tested. Not how smooth the surface is, but how strong the structure becomes under pressure. And substance wins slowly, then suddenly. At first, it is invisible. No applause, no recognition, no immediate validation, just quiet development, small adjustments, repeated effort, failures that refine rather than define. Then something shifts. When pressure increases, substance remains. The polished image cracks under pressure, because it was never designed to absorb impact. It was designed to be seen. But seeing is not the same as surviving. But the rebuilt mind adapts. It adjusts instead of breaking. It learns instead of collapsing. It recalibrates instead of panicking. It has already experienced disruption. So disruption no longer feels like an ending. The untouched ego collapses under criticism, because it was never trained to be questioned. It was trained to be admired. So when feedback arrives, it feels like an attack. But the humbled person learns. They separate identity from performance. They extract lessons without emotional distortion. They improve without defensiveness. They grow without needing to be right. The one who needed praise becomes unstable, because their direction depends on external validation. When praise disappears, so does momentum. When attention fades, so does confidence. But the one shaped by struggle keeps moving, even when no one is watching, even when progress is slow, even when results are unclear, because their motivation is internalized. It is no longer dependent on applause. Long-term power belongs to those who transform pain into structure, not those who avoid pain, not those who pretend it does not exist, not those who maintain appearances at all costs, but those who take what breaks them and rebuild differently. Stronger systems, clearer thinking, better habits, deeper awareness. Not those who merely look complete, but those who become complete through experience. Because what is built through pressure lasts longer than what is built for display. And in the long run, life does not reward the perfect image. It rewards the adaptable mind. So remember this. Your cracks do not automatically weaken you. They are not a final judgment on your worth. They are not proof that something is wrong with you. They are not the end of your structure. What weakens you is shame, not the damage itself, but the silence around it. The internal story that says it should not exist. The belief that it must be hidden at all costs. What weakens you is pretending the damage never happened. Because denial does not erase reality. It only delays repair. And what is delayed long enough eventually becomes instability. What weakens you is refusing to rebuild, staying in the moment of breaking, identifying only with what went wrong, treating collapse as a permanent identity instead of a temporary state. But if you face what broke, if you look directly at it without distortion, if you understand what failed, what hurt, what shifted you, repair what matters. Not everything needs fixing at once, but what supports your life, your decisions, your direction, those parts must be strengthened again. And carry your history without apology. Not as performance, not as burden, but as context, as proof that you have been through pressure and still remained here. Then something changes. The places life wounded you stop being evidence of weakness. They become places of understanding, awareness, depth, judgment, perspective, sometimes even guidance for others who are still in what you have already moved through. And slowly, what once felt like damage becomes design. That is Kintsugi wisdom, not perfection, transformation, not erasing what happened, but integrating it into who you are becoming. And sometimes, the strongest person in the room is not the one who was never broken. It is the one who was broken and chose gold. If this message found you at the right time, subscribe to the Cypher Phantom. Because in this world, many chase appearances. But here, we build power from truth.